Welcome to the I Love Buffalo podcast. Part of the I Love Buffalo network with your host, Josh Catry.
Aloha, Buffalo. Welcome to the I Love Buffalo podcast, episode 1. My name is Josh Catry, and I'll be your host. Today on the podcast, Buffalonians raised $100,000 for Mark Andrews Foundation, a ship is stuck in the ice outside the North Gap, and Melinda wins the European Jiu-Jitsu Championship. All this and more on this episode of the I Love Buffalo podcast.
Just 1,000 of your closest friends. Buffalo tattooed on your thigh. Sabo Highway's got its favorite brand. Singing our favorite songs. Sing this with me. Josh is singing us to victory. One, two, three, go.
As someone who's grown up in Buffalo most of my life, to me, we've always had the mentality of being underdogs. It's something we've kind of had to do. Being a small city with small budget, small market sports teams, and winter weather that the national media makes fun of us for, it gives us that chip on our shoulder. Like being an underdog in Buffalo is part of the culture here. If you can harness that underdog mentality, that underdog spirit that they talk about, it could propel you to greatness. Or so it seems anyways. There are so many amazing people that have come from Buffalo, worked their way up, and been the underdog their whole life. The one thing that a lot of successful people from Buffalo have in common is optimism. They had a vision, a plan. One of my favorite philosophers is a physicist from Oxford named David Deutsch, and he has what's called the principle of optimism. And to me, this is one of the most beautiful principles I ever heard. And it's simply this, that problems are everywhere. The universe is problems. And all problems that do not defy the laws of physics are solvable with the right knowledge. And I just think that's so elegant and a beautiful way to look at things when you have a problem. You're searching for the knowledge to try to solve it. As long as it doesn't defy the laws of physics, it should be possible. The question is, can you find the solution in time? When we look at all the different people in Buffalo that have been successful, they had to use the underdog mentality to grow. The one thing that seems to echo out between them all is optimism. To me, the lesson there is this. The underdog requires optimism to win. This being our first episode of this podcast, we don't want to have any limits or boundaries on what this podcast can talk about. We want to be able to talk about all different kinds of things, history of Buffalo, people in Buffalo, things going on in Buffalo, but also talk about philosophies and just lessons we've learned while living in Buffalo. We can cover news stories, Buffalo life, art, community, music, history, upcoming events. I've been fortunate. I've been really lucky that I've been a part of some special systems and businesses and communities and groups of people here. And I want to share some of the things I've learned from those communities with everyone. This town has so many amazing stories to tell, many that we can all benefit from. So really, that's what this podcast is going to be about. Speaking of awesome and interesting news stories of the week, let's highlight a few, starting off with Bill's Mafia. Bill's Mafia raised over $100,000 for type 1 diabetes research. This is for a charity that Mark Andrews holds near and dear to his heart. He is the tight end for the Ravens that dropped the crucial pass and had a fumble in the game. He just had a bad game. He's a really good tight end, had a bad game with a lot on the line. He took a lot of vitriol online from fans and from people that were upset with him. Bill's Mafia recognized that. They saw that. They saw that what he was going through, and I think they had empathy for him. And this is why I love this city. We respond with kindness and love and empathy. We knew the exact feeling that Mark was feeling because we've been there. We've been there with the missed field goals, the missed opportunities, and we've had to coach ourselves through moments like that. That's not easy. That starts with not letting that moment define your whole life, right? So hopefully as a person, Mark does not let that moment define him. What Buffalo did was really classy. We've done this for like a lot of different charities, for a lot of teams that we've beat, or, the time that even when Lamar Jackson got a concussion when we played him, we donated to his charity. And this is just so awesome to see our city doing this. It's one of my favorite things. We see collective groups of people getting together and helping out others. And we do it when someone is going through a rough time, someone going through a concussion or someone had a bad game. It shouldn't define them or that person. Our community knows that, and we stand up for that. That's just awesome to see. Makes me love this town. Kudos to everybody who put that together and did that. That's just great. If you see awesome or brave or generous or kind things happening around us, shouldn't we honor that? So part of this podcast will dedicate some time to honoring things like that we see. If you guys see anything too, please, message us. If you have a news story you think we should cover or something interesting or fascinating, or things that are off the radar that are happening in Buffalo, please let us know about them in the comments on our social media and the email attached to this podcast. Next up is a story that I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit obsessed with. My wife is too. We were talking about this, and that is the giant ship, the freighter ship that's out there stuck in the ice. And you can see it when you're driving on the Skyway into Buffalo. If you look out on the ice, there's just this big giant ship stuck out there. I'm not sure who makes these plans to have freighter ships go in and out of Buffalo Harbor in January, but it surely surprised me seeing this ship stuck out there. According to Channel 2 News, it will at least be another day or two before that ship can escape the ice. They're sending a bunch of other ships here to try to free it. So ships are coming from Canada and from other parts of the Great Lakes. They're coming together to try to free the ship. The ship is 663 feet long. It's huge. It looks like part of a city moving. It's called the Man-it-Tulin is the name of the ship. The ship had just dropped off wheat at the ADM facility back at the sand dunes off Route 5 there. And it left port during that real cold spell and made it outside the North Gap and ran into the big pot of ice out there. And now it's just stuck there. So there's a crew still on the ship. I was wondering this. According to the Coast Guard, there's 17 crew members aboard the ship, and they have 5 days of provisions to wait things out as the Coast Guard icebreakers break them free. Just before recording this podcast, I came back over the Skyway, and I could see several ships around the big ship now. So it looks like they're making some progress, but it is interesting to say the least. Apparently, some of these ships can break through 3 to 4 feet of ice, and they're also huge. These 240-foot giant ships are coming through to break the ice around this ship. It's super cool to see. Again, this is problem solving in groups, and it required many people to solve this problem. So as Buffalonians, we'll hold our breath and see how this all unfolds. But as of right now, the crew is still on the ship, and the ship is still stuck in the ice. The last thing I want to note this week is Melinda G. of Buffalo United Martial Arts won the European title for Jiu-Jitsu at Brown Belt for the IBJJF. Those of you that don't follow Jiu-Jitsu, the IBJJF is the biggest tournament circuit that exists. They do the World Championships, the Pan American Championships, and the European Championships. Those are the 3 biggest tournaments in the world for Gi Jiu-Jitsu. I want to stress to everyone out there how hard that is to do. So like if you woke up tomorrow and you decided you wanted to be a European champion in jiu-jitsu at any age or any rank, that would be such a hard goal to accomplish. I believe she's the first person from Buffalo to get a gold medal and win that title. Melinda put a ton of hard work into this. I'm one of the coaches, one of the black belts at Buffalo United Martial Arts where she trains. And this past year, she did a bunch of competitions, put herself out there, was vulnerable. She won a bunch. She had some losses. But those trials and tests made her ready for this bigger moment. And she was able to be the first person from Buffalo to ever win a gold medal in the Europeans, as far as I know. If anyone else knows of anyone else, please tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. But I asked the internet earlier, and that is the answer that I got was no answer. So I'm assuming that she was the first person to win gold medal. And at Brown Belt, that's a tough division stacked with talented girls that are killers, man. And she did great. So we're all super proud of her. The hard work she put in, she was doing 2-a-days, coming in before work, training, then going to work, working all day, coming back after work, training again. And that hard work paid off. Congratulations, Melinda. So happy for you to see that. I don't usually like talking about myself so much, but I will give you a little bit of background about myself, just so you know some of the topics that we'll be covering and some of the things we can discuss on this podcast in the segments that I cover, of course. I've already mentioned a little bit about jiu-jitsu. I was the first colored belt living in Buffalo, New York. I got my blue belt around 2001. And I'd found jiu-jitsu in the late 90s and attribute most of the positive things in my life after that fact to jiu-jitsu and to what the art has taught me. Jiu-jitsu teaches us how to problem solve under duress. So while someone is attacking you, you're trying to solve a problem. And that's super valuable. It teaches us about growth mindset, which is the idea that intelligence is not a fixed trait. We can grow. Nothing is a fixed trait. So all of our traits have sliding scales. Those sliding scales start with being vulnerable, oftentimes failing, and how we deal with those failures determines if we grow or not. So growth mindset came from jiu-jitsu, learning how to problem solve under duress, of course, learning how to beat bigger and stronger opponents and have confidence, and all the stuff that comes from all martial arts came from jiu-jitsu. But it's a very tangible thing. You can't lie and say you're good at jiu-jitsu. It's much like chess or wrestling or anything that's one-on-one. You have to show it and you have to prove it. Because of that fact, it forces you to be very honest with yourself and not lie to yourself. And when you do that, you can actually grow a lot faster. Everyone has problems with it. Everyone has problems with ego getting in the way of growth. You don't want to admit that you're bad at something or you're failing at something. Something as raw as jiu-jitsu makes you do that. It makes you look at it, makes you look at yourself, makes you ask yourself, where is my worst problems? Where am I failing? And how can I grow? Outside of jiu-jitsu, I've been lucky enough to be part of some amazing businesses and communities right here in Buffalo, such as helping open the Pearl Street Grill and Brewery. And I've been with the company for 20-something years. Been part of Red October Baits, the Lafayette Hotel, Pan American Grill and Brewery, Buffalo United Martial Arts, Fight Family LLC, and Buffalo Riverworks. So these are big systems, especially for Buffalo, and really cool systems that got to see the process that went behind forming them and watching them grow, and the engines and the people behind them that help put the whole thing together, some of the problems we had to overcome and the difficulties. There's so many awesome lessons that exist in the stories all around us. So if you're interested in hearing how the Pearl Street Grill and Brewery was formed, or how Riverworks was formed, or the process that went into putting on some major events that we've done, things like this we'll definitely discuss in the podcast, maybe even have some guests to talk about that. Other topics we'll for sure cover are things like the value of trust, finding groups of people that you trust so you can solve problems together. And this is one of the lessons I've learned from some of these businesses and communities, is that trust is actually a thing you can build foundations on. We'll discuss it as a concept quite a bit here. Here's the thing. If you can find a group of people that you really trust, and then you guys work together, you pool resources, solve problems together, it's one of the most amazing things that humans can do. Simply put, humans solve problems better in high trust groups. I often think about a SEAL team, a Navy SEAL team. They strongly trust each other. They've all have skin in the game. They've been through Hell Week. They've done previous iterations together. A SEAL team group of 16 can take out 400, 500 guys. Why? How? Well, yeah, they got more skills, but they have more trust too. So they built the skills on top of the trust. They went through all the training together, all the previous iterations together. And they're not worried if the other person's going to rip them off or shoot them or not have their back. They all know that each person has each other's back. So digging into what trust is and how it works in groups and how you can build upon it is definitely a topic we're going to be talking about on this podcast quite often. As we already touched on, we will definitely explore the idea of problem solving in general, group problem solving, and how high trust groups solve problems better than individuals. So this has to do with building stronger communities where we listen to each other and we have forums where we can talk and come to resolutions and solve problems. There's better ways than we're using, or that most people know about anyways. And I look forward to sharing some of these ways with you, namely collective intelligence systems and group problem solving systems. Another topic we're going to discuss heavily on this podcast is the outdoors. We have the Great Lakes surrounding us, fishing, boating, hunting, hiking, camping. We have the mountains down in Allegheny, wildlife all around us, wildlife photography, birding. These are all topics that are near and dear to my heart. Connecting with nature is mandatory in my life. And when I've added it on purpose, it has made a positive impact on me. So I try to do it at least once or twice a week. I go out and connect with nature. So we'll definitely be talking about what awesome stuff we have around here. I've been super fortunate in my life that a lot of my close friends are some of the best fishermen in the area. I learned how to fish for muskies and bass and pike and perch, walleye, trout. So many awesome things to go fishing around here. If you've never gone fishing in the area and you live here, it's a shame, because this area is one of the best in the world. If you never did it, you should try it sometime. At least experience what the best freshwater fishing can be like before you decide whether or not if you like it or not. And it's just an awesome thing to do. Take kids out. They can have a blast and connect with nature. One of the companies I was part of, Red October Baits, is from Buffalo, New York. They're out in Lakeview right now, and they make fishing lures for muskies. I have another really close friend who makes trolling lures for muskies, and he carves fish out of wood. There's so many interesting avenues we can go down exploring just the outdoors alone. Tons of my friends are excellent birders, where they go out looking for birds and find birds. And if that sounds a little lame to you if you've never done it before. It did to me too at first, but I tell you, it's super fun. It's like playing Pokemon Go, except for with wildlife. You're going out in nature and it's hard to do. It's not easy to do. You have to learn all kinds of species of birds, their habitat and where they're likely to be found and their migration patterns and what they like to eat. And if you want to be someone who sees a lot of different species, it requires knowledge. Buffalo is a great place to get into birding and see a whole bunch of different species. Both the birding community run by the BOS and the fishing community, the muskie community that I'm in, the Niagara Muskie Association, these are conservation clubs that help ensure habitat, do fundraisers, but also will connect you to the community. So if you're a beginner in fishing or a beginner in birding, you can show up to their meetings and learn about the different birds and different species in our area, different places to go birding. And you can learn how to handle a muskie and how the Muskie Club is really about conservation first because they're such rare creatures. And all these clubs exist in Buffalo. On this podcast, we'll talk about them. We'll dive into them a little bit. To give you an example of the diversity here, my wife Julie and I have seen collectively 288 different species of birds in Erie County alone and 337 different species in New York State. And almost all of that is like in Western New York. So Niagara County, Allegheny County, Chautauqua County, and Erie County. There are so many interesting stories to tell about the outdoors in Western New York, from hiking to waterfalls that have fire behind them, to one of the wonders of the world in Niagara Falls, to some of the simple facts about animals that live here. For example, did you know this? Did you know that Buffalo, New York is one of the best places in the continental U.S. to see a snowy owl during the winter? About 10 years ago, I didn't know that, but then I found out, and it's pretty awesome. Another topic we're sure to cover quite extensively is health and wellness. Of course, because I've been training and teaching jiu-jitsu for 25 years, it's been a big part of my life, but there are other aspects as well. Buffalo is well known for its strength and weightlifting, the CrossFit community, and more. Another part of health and wellness that we'll definitely bring to the attention of the podcast here is mental health and eating clean. Personally, I had autoimmune problems, clinical anxiety, and I don't anymore. It's been over 4 years since the last time I had a panic attack or any symptoms from autoimmune. And I know many other people who fix these chronic diseases and mental illnesses, all with lifestyle changes. So if you're chronically sick or know someone who is, please join the conversation. We're going to be diving into this quite a bit, how food and how what we eat and the chemicals we put around us affect directly how we feel. And if you're feeling sick, know that a lot of the sicknesses people feel are turning out to be quite reversible. And we'll have people on to give their testimonials about that, including myself. What we are looking to do here is not just have guests, but have other podcasters and shows on the I Love Buffalo network. If you got a podcast or idea to share or something that's interesting to add, please hit us up. Let's form a high trust group that adheres to the same code. One that's respectful, open-minded, solves problems, and tells stories about Buffalo and the people within it. The last thing this podcast is going to do is highlight interesting things that are happening in Buffalo this week and interesting companies as well. One cool event this week we'd like to highlight, besides Disney on Ice at the arena and all the football viewing parties all over the city, takes place Saturday the 25th of January. Local jam band Savo Highway, that's spelled T-S-A-V-O, has their album release party for their new album Circles. This is going to take place at the Sportsman's. It's on Amherst Street. If you've never been to the Sportsman's, highly recommend going there. It's a super awesome historic music venue, rich with history. Like the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame is literally next door to it, and they're associated with it. Pearl Street was part of the original remodel there, and they've got to do a bunch more remodels since then. And the place is just awesome. It reminds me of like seeing music inside of an old guitar or something. It's just such good sound in there and cool view of the bands. Highly recommend checking them out Saturday night, the 25th. That show starts at 8 o'clock. And the last thing we're going to do is highlight a product. As I mentioned, I try to use all clean products in my life. And one of the ones I had trouble finding was deodorant. I would use different products, and some of them just didn't work that well. And other ones had chemicals I was uneasy about. And then recently I found a deodorant from a company called Hunt in Lather. So it's huntlather.com. Hunt Lather was founded by two guys from Western New York. They make clean products, deodorants and soaps made with tallow and clean ingredients like coconut oils and things like that. And the deodorant is awesome. Everyone I know that's tried it gives it rave reviews. It lasts really long, it smells really nice, and you don't got to worry about putting aluminum and chemicals on your armpits and things like that. So if you care about that kind of stuff, highly recommend them. Try to support local Buffalo companies as they make their way up, especially if they're doing the right thing. And this one is doing the right thing. All right, folks, that's about it for this week. Thanks so much for checking out the I Love Buffalo podcast. Again, my name is Josh Kutry. Let's embrace that underdog mentality and start our goals with optimism this week. Thanks for listening. Oh, one last quick update that just came in as I finished the podcast here. The ship has been freed from the ice. So the ship, the big ship sitting out in front of Buffalo Harbor, has just been freed. According to some of my friends that are downtown watching it right now, it is sailing off into the distance, breaking the ice. So big ups to all the ships that came from all over to free the crew members there, and now they can go on their way and not be worried about if they're going to make it back to shore or be stuck in the ice all winter. Thanks again so much for listening. Again, my name is Josh, and I love Buffalo. Thanks for tuning in.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.